So when you come out to snorkel for crawdads, of course you've got to attract them in first. So we've got some sucker meat here, just a piece of a fish, and then what I like to do is I've just got one of those foam things you use for swimming pools, a noodle, and I cut them up in pieces, tied some fishing line to it, and then I'll tie this to the fish, and then you can just sink it down and even tie it to a brick if you want to make sure that the crawdads don't take it and drag it under a rock, which is pretty smart. So we've got a handful of some bricks as well. So we'll tie this to the brick, to the fish, and then put it out in about, anywhere from 6 to 10 feet in water. Just a spot that looks good for crawdads. So of course you're going to want some snorkeling equipment, but the thing that you want to make sure you have with that are some fins. Fins make all the difference in the world when it comes to just the ease of getting around and then diving down deep. If you don't have them, you just struggle a lot more. So obviously these, and then grab some fins.
So the first thing we do is get all the baits out. I took a few minutes to take a dozen baits out along the shoreline in about 6 to 8 feet of water. I was looking for areas that looked like good crawfish habitat, which is lots of smaller rocks that they can hide under. Then, given a little time, we started checking the baits out, and sure enough, there were usually 1, 2, 3, or even more crawfish on the bait when we made rounds checking them.
Hey, there you go! First one! Just throw it in the boat when you get here.
Now the trick is actually to catch them. After verifying that yes, there was a crawdad or two on the bait, as you hover over it, now you take a big breath and head on down to grab it. Half the time the crawdads dart off, but for those that stick around, you have to try to grab them as quick as you can, and of course, without getting pinched. It's that last part that's the hardest, as you usually just have to grab them any way you can before they swim under a rock or out of reach. There usually isn't enough time to try to grab behind their pinchers as you do if they're unable to move. So you just grab them and hope that it doesn't hurt too bad, because they're gonna pinch you. The best solution is to wear some sort of glove. That seems to lessen the pain quite a bit and makes you less reluctant to grab them. Many times, if you can hold your breath long enough, you may be grabbing at 2 or 3, and so you just go for whatever part of them you can still see as they start to hide from your striking hand. For those times that the fishermen are successful, we had 2 options. Much of the time, someone was motoring around nearby in the boat to take the crawfish. For those guys that didn't have this option, we had a couple nets set up to float in the water nearby. That way, Nathan, for example, who was on the other end of our bait line, could keep the net nearby while he dove for the crawfish he was catching. This was kind of a fun bait because when I went down to check it, there were 2 crawdads, and even though there was plenty of food, they were really fighting over it. When I went back down a second time, they were still fighting. After that, I figured I better go down and catch the 2 of them, but when I got there, there was only 1. Now this bait was in about 10 to 12 feet of water, and so it was a tough one to get to. However, it always had the most crawdads on it. At this time, there was probably about 10 of them. So you would dive down, but by the time you got there, you were already wishing you had more oxygen. So all you could do was hurry and grab what you could and head on up.
Oh, good job. Oh, that wasn't too bad to stay on there. Got to it, buddy. It pinched me, but it was worth that.
If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to the Outdoor Youth Challenge YouTube channel.